Emmons, who we mentioned earlier, Robert Emmons, he talks about somewhat of a paradoxical gratitude exercise. He says that one of the best ways that we can actually cultivate this real felt sense of gratitude is actually through the opposite, to think about times in our life when things were really difficult for us, times in our life that were among the most challenging for us, thinking about those moments of loss, of sadness, of difficulties, trauma, whatever it might be, and to sort of in a certain way to actually consciously and deliberately call those to mind. You could do this in a journaling exercise, you could do this through kind of visualization, but that you can then remember a couple things. Number one, it can highlight a person's resilience, right? Because we can talk about those most difficult moments that by definition are not now. Even if the moment is difficult now, you have been through worse, you'll get through this. So there's a strength-based element to this. There's a resilience-based element to this, to doing this. The other thing that, as he points out, this can do for us is to put into contrast the present from the past, and to actually, in some respects, help us to see the present in a new light, help us to notice day-to-day challenges in a slightly, less painful manner, help us to notice that, okay, even if I'm not always aware of this, there's actually a lot to appreciate today that the past me would have really, felt like. I think about, during grad school, I had this, just a silly example, but like a car that was a real piece of crap. Can I say that? It's junk. It was like a 1982, eighth-hand car that barely turned on because it was all I could afford. And I literally didn't know every day if it was going to work. And one time, I was driving down University Avenue in Palo Alto, which I don't know if anyone knows much about Palo Alto, but it's a pretty nice area. There's a lot of Porsches and things like that everywhere, early Teslas. And I'm driving in this car, and all of a sudden it just starts making this horrible sound. And it just dies in the middle of University Avenue. It was a mortifying experience in hindsight. And I don't know the first thing about cars because I grew up in New York. I was taking the subway everywhere. I only learned to drive when I was coming out to California. So I'm there, and I opened up the hood, I remember, and it's sort of smoky in there. And I don't know why I even bothered to open it up because I don't know what I'm looking for. Maybe there'll be a big sign on there that says, press this button and your car will work. But other than that, there's nothing I would know what to do in the first place. But anyways, I was just having car trouble recently, and it's a micro version of this, so it's not a serious, in the grand scheme of things, a serious example. But my car air conditioning on my current car, which is getting up there. I tend to wear my cars out. It's a Honda. They say they can drive forever, but the air conditioning had stopped working, and I was getting it repaired. And the estimate came back, and he's a reliable mechanic, right? A rarity, right? He's very, not reliable, but honest, never tries to rip me off. So he's worth his weight in gold. And he's I'm so sorry, this thing died. I don't even know what they are, but I take his word for it, but he's smart. He's so there'll be he gave me the estimate, and I was oh crap, this is such a bummer, whatever. And I did kind of a version of this, thinking back on my experiences in Palo Alto, thinking to myself, okay, first off, that car didn't even have air conditioning. It was I would roll the windows down. There was no working AC in the car. Second, I didn't know if that car was going to start every day. At least this one does. Thirdly, I'm very blessed that even this estimate is an annoyance, but it's not impossible. It's not devastating. And I've been in the place in the past where I just don't know what I would have done, right? If I was in this, I just would have gone without air conditioning or gone without a working car in the past. And how many people really are still in that boat, right? Around the world where this would be just a total catastrophe. So thinking about sort of the way worse version of this allows me to also then see that, okay, this is annoying, but it's not a catastrophe, it's not the end of the world, and to see your current circumstances in a very different light.